rotate device back. It really wants me to do this vertical. Oh dear, this is for, I think, TikTok and Instagram. So it's going to be vertical. How are you guys doing? Great to be with you. And as the passage suggests, I'm talking to you about yield curve inversion. Yield curve inversion. We're coming to the end of January. And the key bullet point, what's the quick takeout? You've only got a minute. You want to know, what's he on about? The first of the reverted back positive. So let's explain this. How are you guys doing? Yeah, sunny Queensland, Australia. Yes, equally sunny here. Fishhook, South Africa. Oh, but a sparkling water. Nature's finest. I might have to reach for my communist hat to cover my head from getting burnt. What are we talking about? We're talking about the 100% indicator. Note the red star. Red star. Australians, Queensland, Russia's coming to invade. You need to enlist all your citizens. Must create fresh meat for the meat grinder. Don't forget. And forget infrastructure. Must buy military goods. Russia's coming for you. I'm one of them. The communism is coming. Ooh, the red threat. Okay, yeah, I've got to do the hat. Sorry, guys. Because of the sunshine here today, it doesn't look so formal and professional. I don't tend to do it in studio, but puppy licks are definitely appreciated. Thank you. Melbourne as well. Great to have the Aussies. It's a bit of an early one, so we're getting the Australian market on the late end of their day. Okay, so the first of the yield curves has reverted back. So all the major yield curves, and so let's start at the beginning. What is a yield curve? Okay, it's very simple. It's the interest rate that is paid on long-term debt minus the interest rate that is paid on short-term debt. Okay, so when you have a government debt or treasury instrument, you subtract the debt paid on of a short term from a long term. So what is long and short term? Let's just cover this as well. Typically the long end of the debt curve is 10 years up to 30 years. So if you have a US 10-year treasury, a US 30-year, those are long termers. So that's the big guys. It's going to take a while to come back. Hey, from Oklahoma, glad to have you. England calling, yes. Queensland, beautiful. Mississippi, hey, we got all the M's today. Melbourne, Mississippi, it's all happening. Okay, so what happens? What is the short term? The short term is 6 months, but usually it's a 1 year or a 2 year debt instrument. So that means you borrowed for 1 year, you've got to pay it all back in a year's time. You borrowed for 2 years, you've got to pay it all back in 2 years' time. And then you service the interest rate during that 2 years until the end of the 2 years where you return of capital. Yes? But obviously the longer the term, the more inflation kicks in. And what tends to happen is the rates on long-term debt, because there's more scope for bad things to happen, the rates on long-term debt end up being higher than the short-term debt. And when that happens, what that actually means is you have a normal yield curve. If you take the short-term debt away from the long-term, you have a positive value. In other words, you borrow long-term at 4.5, and if you're borrowing for a year, you're at 4.1. So you will end up having a difference of positive 0.4 when you take 4.1. That is the yield curve. So it should go, watch my hand with a water glass, on the short end, that's the small numbers, years, 1, 2 years along here. As you go out to the other side, 30 years or 10 years and 30 years, the curve should go up like that. In other words, the interest rates charged 4.1, 4.2, 4.4, 4.5, 4.8. That is a typical normal market yield curve. It should go up. When the yield curve inverts, it means it's not even flat, it's going down. Okay, it's going down. Morning, Mr. User. Yes, Silver 23. Hello from Brisbane. Yay, great to have the Aussies. Good attendance. of you. Don't forget, the Russians are about to attack. Anyway, so while you're there and listening to my incoherent comments in between, we're also trying to explain the yield curve. So what's actually happened is we've had, in the modern era, if we take the last 40 years, since the 80s, gold mega spike, silver mega spike, and the interest rate super spike that was the Volcker highs in conquering inflation, post the Nixon spendathon of blanket bombing a jungle in Vietnam. Because, isn't that funny, we're talking about the same things all the time, coinciding. And what are we about to do? Everybody must war Russia. Everybody war Russia. They want to attack you. They want to destroy your democracy. They hate the way you live. They want to take it away from you. They're just evil. We're the good guys, remember? Yeah. So while you're absorbing that little note from the mainstream media and coming to the conclusions you must come to, we go back to our yield curve explanation. So we have been for a year, 6 months and 10 days on the 30-year, so that's the classic long-term debt instrument. Now the Fed prefers to use a 10, they would, but the classic long-term instrument, 30-year, minus the 2-year, which is the longest typically of the short-term spread. So the short terms, 6 months, 1 and 2, the long terms, 10 through to 30. So 30 minus 2 has just reverted back positive last week. It just reverted back positive. Hey, greetings from Wisconsin. I love all the check-ins and where you're from. Who loves von der Leyen? Yes, I know. Yeah, saw the dominoes are falling. So you know, of course, what caused the super spike in interest rates under the Volcker years that destroyed so many people who were leveraged. And you know that the setup for that was a major war conflict because America really needed to bomb communists in Southeast Asia. You know, that threat to them, you know, because they were the guardians of the world. We appointed them. And that's not an attack on our American citizens and friends. That's the attack on Kissinger, the warmongers, and all the string pullers that are running all our relative governments in this WEF agenda environment. And WEF ain't new. It's just got a new branding. It's always existed under the Club of Rome and all these other dodgy little conspiratorial masturbation sessions that they have. For all these perverts and warmongery types. Anyway, back to the yield curve. That was quite an interesting little segue from yield numbers. Sorry about that. So while we're enjoying the sea and the ocean, this is Fishhook, by the way, for those asking. That's main goal is to slaughter as many people, smash particularly white soldiers against other white soldiers, Rusho, Slavs versus Gallic Anglo-Saxons, and of course some Aussie and anyone else they can cohort into it, the entire old Western order, so that they can also have a melt up in debt and they can peak the corruption, peak all the military industrial complex expenditure, which is why, as I say, since 2014 we've told you the hold your nose trade is the military industrial complex. And of course we also referred to the FU portfolio. I won't say the full word out, I've already done enough damage for the algorithm today, but the FU portfolio being the statist technocracy that is now literally the difference between the S&P being down -4% and actually being substantially up, which is the Amazon, Microsoft and the rest of them. So I mean, that is what I call your hated portfolio, that is money go up, but not a good thing. As they win out on their agenda, which is pretty much how it's going. They are unfortunately winning out. I'm going to turn my back to the wind and give you a different perspective. So in terms of the 30-year and 2, we've gone just over the zero line. Now this is the longest of both, the long end of the debt and the short end of the debt. And I expect in due course all the other yield curve inversions that are popular, namely the 10-year minus the 2-year, the 10-year minus the 1-year, the 10-year minus the 6 months, you name it, you can do it. The 30-year minus the 1-year if you want to do that one. All of these in due course. All of these in due course will end up. How's my playground here? I'm going to go for a little slide. When last did you have a little slide with a drink in your hand? Must do it, especially in a communist hat. So anyway, so while we that is the leader for me, the 30 and 2 almost, and it is the most sensitive it appears, and it is broken above. And can I say technically, and I will put a chart out on this, and if you're subscribed to our Substack, you'll also get it in our next newsletter as we run into the live trading day and the non-farm payrolls that'll be coming on the first Friday of February. But what you will find is that it actually has an upside target of well above the zero line, in and around the 1.17. So if the 10, my apologies, the 30 minus the 2 is going to go that far up, all the others will have followed to varying degrees and will have crossed the zero and will be reverting strongly as well. Too much wind noise. Okay, let me move a little bit into, it is a windy old place. Fish hook, sorry about that. I've got the dead cat on, you can have a look, but let me go find some wind space, wind free space. So back, hopefully a bit quieter here. Let's go sit down against the wall in the sunshine. I'm hoping that's better, guys. Apologies for that. It's shit to have crap audio, and we spend a lot of money on it. But I am by the sea, and it is going to pick up as it's getting warmer. Much better, yeah. Super windy, yeah. So yeah, wind is a problem. Okay, so back to the message and save you the buffeting. We are in the beginning of the reversion of the inversions. Now, those of you who followed for a while, when we first inverted, I said the problem comes, the real problem will hit you, and I can lose the Bolshevik hat in the meantime. The problem comes when you revert back. That's when you're almost about to have your crisis. As the rates all start heading back up above zero, the crisis is coming. And there's any number of landmines. Someone's posting Evergrande there. 113 says Evergrande, I think, HSBC. Yeah. You can count Standard Chartered Bank in that one as well. They've lent heavily into China. They were a superstar during the run-up from 09 into 16, Standard Chartered as a bank, because China was still pumping the debt, borrowing and property lending, and they were just flying when everyone else wasn't, and they had invested in the right area. So that's one example. But actually, repo markets, what actually happens on the repo markets is banks provide liquidity to each other. And when banks provide liquidity to each other overnight, this is the repo markets, you get a sense of why is the other bank needing that liquidity? Questions once things start to get a little sketchy, and we don't want to lend anymore. We'd rather keep all our liquidity in our own hands. As a result, please leave us alone. We won't be overnight lending, and we'll keep all our bucks by ourselves. This was actually the precursor to Lehman's, and it was also the 2019 crisis that was a repo market related for the rush through in the March 2020 events that you all know what those were. So in fact, interbank lending markets are one of the leakiest pipes that burst, typically in these environments. Stock market will be up today, who cares about Evergrande? So the whole point of what do you do with this information? So, okay, Francis, thanks very much, yada, yada, there's some technical aspect to do with some debt instrument has happened, and usually this means, well, the whole message I'm giving you here is we've spoken of a DDE, a demand destroying event, which will typically be credit, banker, and I've highlighted my favorite repo markets, but they could label China as the reason. It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is the Fed will blame somebody, something, and you'll have a crisis, you'll have a collapse, you'll have disinflation. So they'll undershoot now on their inflation targets, and you'll have assets contracting, assets generally contracting. So I wouldn't be chase pumping the new high on the S&P now. By the way, I want to also correct this notion that we've been bears on the market. We called David Hunter out a year and a half ago for calling a melt up on a head and shoulder, and that head and shoulder broke down, performed, and is done. And an inflationary environment typically sees equities go up and other assets go up generally, but we're in a stagflationary environment too. So it's combination of the inflation but also the weak growth. What that means is the growth for us, the humans, the retail humans that are not insiders, is garbage. But actually, the military industrial complex have never had it so good. Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, all quickly becoming trillion market cap equities. So let's be clear. Inflation is brilliant for billionaires. They borrow super cheap, they buy assets, and the assets go up more than they borrow, and the money they borrow devalues. And the interest they pay on it is insignificant. So they get a wholesale lending route. It's like they get a special discount window to borrow to buy assets. You can't borrow for them. You get credit cards where your interest rate goes up to 30%, and you're somewhere between 12 and 30. So that's the big thing. How long till the interest rates start rising? So bear in mind, this is not interest rates going up. This is the difference between the long end and the short end that was negative reverting back positive. So it's, I know your question, and I'll come back to your question, but I just don't want to confuse people on that. So it's a people for his name asking the question. So what this inherently means is every time it's a 100% indicator. There is a crisis coming, and now it's a triggering event. You should be at a high state of preparedness. That means you should own, on your equities, you should hold all your share certificates of any equities you own. If this is the full-blown reset, which leads to tokens being introduced in a year and a half's time, after a period of crisis and lockdown and green and war and hack and every other thing. So the product of governments, the supernatural governments, the dark states behind them, is fear, negative psychology, psyops generally, and contagion, and war, loss of life. So they want you to be scared. So it's either you're the bio threat, which was March 2020, or it's the Russo threat. Russia wants to conquer the world, and the warmongery. We really have to do this war. What's the justification? Why? Who attacked us? Nobody's attacked us. You went and took one of their ex-states, flipped it over into someone who then said they wanted to join NATO, when he said don't draw the NATO line any further than that. You caused shit. That's all you did. That's all that's happened. He doesn't want to own Paris or London, and I don't blame him for not wanting to either. Gold futures will be up tonight, says Dino. Yeah, so interest rates will crash initially. So the question was, will they go up? What you'll do is you'll get a fear event. So there's coming an event. Now remember, the others haven't reverted yet. They're all inverted. They haven't reverted yet. The 30 and 2 has reverted. It's the first of all the typical yield curves. So it's the first one. So slowly, I am predicting the others' shoes will drop. There's about 3 others that are of significance that people watch. And that'll be like 10 and 2, 10 and 1, 30 and 1, and maybe the 10 and 6 months. So call it 4, a total of 5. But in due course, all will revert. We have a strong inverted head and shoulders on the 30 and 2, pointing to an upside move, in fact. And it's the abrupt move back to normality, inverted commas, that is the setup for the crisis. The crisis then happens there. And as I've said, it will be, in my opinion, financial. Even a hack is financial. It will be financial. However, you will be distracted with, like you had the bio threat of March 2020, like you had the war threat that is suddenly being hyped in the MSM, that every Western nation is now needing to enlist all their males for the meat blender. So that's where we are. Timeline for disaster. Well, I'm trying to tell you that it's got a whole bunch closer. I can't say. What do you want me to say? The 19th of April 2024. Who knows? I can't do that. There's no point guessing and leading people astray and pretending you know things you don't. What I do know is that we've now triggered, we've changed stage. We were in a setup stage, we're now in the live stage. The drill part is over. And as all the others revert, it's on that upside in positive that you then get the breaking news, crisis, big eyes, crisis, fear, be afraid. And you've got to remember that when you put mass psychosis on people and you create fear through mainstream media channels, everybody's immune system dips. So that was why it was kind of useful. And I was listening to Huberman saying that people are only spending 90%, 10% outdoors. And the lockdown where they only gave you 1 hour out of roughly 12 awake hours that people have, where they typically daytime and outdoors, they were actually working perfectly to suppress your immune system. You should have blue light glasses off in the morning, like that, looking into the sun every morning. You should be walking, even on cloudy days. You get more sun and you get more light apps for your circadian rhythm. And if you can, watch the sunset and then darkness so that you can sleep. Now, they were doing everything against all of these principles in the last attack vector that they gave you. And they wanted to stop you from going to swim in the sea, which normalizes your battery, which is your body of water with minerals that needs the grounding of the charged seawater. They wanted to stop you from walking barefoot and grounding everything out of you. You needed to be locked up at home in front of your computer watching their terrifying breaking news. And people being arrested and beaten up in parks who dared violate the laws, and therefore concluding that you're going to be a good boy and staying at home. This is the time for absolute resistance. You should absolutely not consent. I do not consent. So I can't give you a day, and I'm not being facetious. If I could, I would. It's who I am, but the event is coming, and my suspicion is it will almost certainly be this year, and I wouldn't be surprised for it to be the first half of this year. I think we're going to need a month, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months before all the others revert. But by then, I would say once that has happened, you're now on a hairline trigger. It could happen in a day, by the way. A shock event, interest rates push harder on the short term, less on the long term, you'll see it. They want you like mushrooms, says SG. Not far off, I think he's right. Yes, so Nikki Haley will be president in World War III. So don't enlist, don't let your children enlist, encourage everyone not to enlist. White enlistment is already crashing down. They don't know what the military stands for. It's LGBTQ, everything else. African and Latino descendant enlistment is flat in the US. So they, even with the money incentives, they're not coaxing increases from anywhere in particular. And I speak in on a reset vid that I've recorded but yet to edit because it was kind of complicated. I'm using a GoPro on a motorbike, and it's going to take a while to get up for those of you that are on the reset channel. But what will happen is I will get that one up in due course, and it will go straight to Rumble. It won't be put on here. But the main thing is, this is almost an on-ramp for robotics as soldiers. This is Terminator. We're slowly segging into Terminator the movie, Terminator the movie. Oh, we don't have the troops. Everyone's saying we don't have the troops. People aren't enlisting, and we're paying incentives. Oh, okay, we need more robotic infantrymen, more robotic dogs, more robotic this and that. And all of these things will start to get pushed as well. So you're going to start stumbling into the signaling, the Hollywood signaling psyop of previous movies gone by. They're already talking about possible conscription in UK and Australia. Oh yes, all over. And I've seen them all, and Sweden and everywhere. You don't understand. These guys are synchronized. So for those of you that think, oh damn, there's a new world order coming, I say to you, we're already in a new world order. You don't have independent media. Every single media in all these different nations is selling you the same song. It's like going and you want to buy a nice pair of shoes, and all you're getting offered is a pink pair of Crocs. and you go to Elite Shoes and they're selling you Crocs, and you go to Leatherwear Goods and they say, we just got a pair of rubber pink shoes for you today. And you go, damn, maybe I'll go to the dive store and buy a pair of flippers, and all they want to give you is a pair of pink Crocs. I mean, what do you mean? You're already under a new world order. This is your mainstream media is totally coordinated, just like the response to the events of March 2020. It's just the dawning and the seizing now of the greater control, the lockstep stage, and also the population downside management, particularly in the Western nations that is here. This is Deagle stats that you're going into, guys. This is Deagle stats that you're going into, and I've continued to say to people, you really need to think about leaving the West. And in the reset video that I do here, where I show you the Cape Town, a better run province, all its failings, South Africa has plenty of them, trust me. You can have an incredible lifestyle for half the money. Go watch that video, and you will not, of the safest nations in the event of a war, or even the possibility, I don't think things go full-blown nukes. I think they go tactical nukes, but if they go full-blown nuke at any point, you do not even want to be anywhere in the Northern Hemisphere. You do not. New Zealand and South Africa and Argentina are your best countries. Argentina, you need Spanish. New Zealand, it's going to be expensive. It's small and pretty wet, but it's first world. South Africa, you'll get first world and third world, but you'll get half the price for the fact that there's third world. And you choose your areas and you get a bit of local. But anyway, I've gone a little bit away from yield curve inversion. But the point of this, it's not just a financial preparation. And we have now transitioned from the green light to the amber light, where the red is coming. And when those other inversions take place on those other debt-based instruments, you will find yourself in that situation that you're imminently waiting the name tag for the crisis. The crisis is guaranteed. What name tag are they going to give it? Pandemic, World War III, global hack, which will be Western banks. So if you have money in the Western banks, secure physical metals, keep it at a minimum. You've got to have some money, I understand, and cash, much higher levels of cash at home. It would just take a few days or a week to kick off CBDCs. Would it work? They will try, and they will also, do you like Club Athletic Boca Juniors? Yes, I do. Argentina sounds good. Great meat in Argentina. Just talk your Spanish. Australia. You'd want Western Australia, quite remote, but the government in Australia and New Zealand are totally Western Trudeau-esque. So you've just got rid of Ardern, but you're going to have a similar chimp. I don't even know the name. Where's one of my Kiwi guys? Who's your current PM now after the cokehead got chucked out and is now working more closely with WEF? The thing with a weird thing about the South African government, it's absolute wreck, totally corrupt. But they're on the other side. They're on the other side, ironically. They've been divided to be pushed on the other side. They need some place in Africa to do okay. They need to crush the Western hegemony, the Commonwealth and the Western hegemony. South Africa is no longer part of that. It's part of the BRICS. It's a founder of one of the BRICS. It's actually a good thing, because the West, note how no one has defined winning a war. Nobody has defined what it means. What will be? What are they going to own all of Russia, bomb and flatten Moscow? What's winning a war mean? Winning, there's no strategy. There's no goal. There's no goal. It's just, we will have to war. We will have to war. But what's the outcome? What is it saving you from? And what are you gaining from doing it? Never mind the epic financial cost and the even more epic, even larger human toll. On infrastructure, your own, theirs, your lives of your young males. Well, they want that, you see. Who's they? Think about it for a while. But you're going to get a lot of white Slavics killed in Russia, and you're going to get a lot of Anglo-Saxons, Celtic and Gallics killed in Europe. And you're going to get, your US blood, which is a hybridization of all of the old European blood, and your African American that's serving, and your Latino killed. Who's not represented in there? Think about who's not represented in there. He gets to get depopulation, get a more manageable size of global population, put a dent in future population growth because there's no more inseminators, I was listening to Cat Turd, and he was talking about there was only spastics and pregnant women left fighting for Ukraine. So it's a crisis there. They need them to hold a line, and they need to rush. Now, remember, they said there will never be troops on the foot. Well, there already are special forces showing them how to use all the equipment we sent them, and now they need the troops and soldiers. And it's coming. And it's coming. And there's too much attention on, the one nation state that's doing the genocide at the moment. So yield curve inversion, demand destroying events will do what to the economy? Crash the market and major bounce later? Yes, exactly that. Bear dog. Disinflationary. It's not a time to think that gold will go up. In actual fact, you might I don't think it will go less down, and I think you should buy on limits, orders. But you should be buying now, you should be net investing all the time. But everything is likely in an event extreme enough. Remember, it's got to be extreme enough to fall. Remember what Bitcoin did. Everyone's called the Bitcoin bull market, but we've also highlighted it on XRP. Is there a final flush out to come? Is there a final flush out to come on assets? It's a typical, and this is something we always say, it's the DNA of a major bull, a final flush out. Remember what happened in March 2020. People with leveraged position got wrecked on Bitcoin. It fell from 10, 12, it went as high as 14,000, but then fell from around the 10,000 level to 3,900, just sub 4K on some exchanges. That is hectic. And then the solution pumps it. Then everything happens. New Zealand has its first coalition with National and ACT. Luxton is Prime Minister. Thank you for educating me. Winston Peters will keep them in line. I don't think anyone will be keeping them in line, but thank you for the heads up. So crypto will dip, Mr. Vicky Aussie. Miss Vicky Oppie, my apologies. I just misgendered you, by the way. You can give me a big thumbs down for that. I do apologize. The eyes of mince pies. Reading your name, Steve Riddick, Northern Ireland, the British part. Yeah. You think it would be better to pull out of the markets and be all in cash? So cash won't die. And when there's disinflation, cash that doesn't die actually buys you more stuff when everything else dumps. So it's not a bad call. You should up. Non-advisory. I am speaking in a non-advisory context, but we've moved into a darker state now where we're on a higher degree of alert. I see the MSM preparing you for something. I think a global hack of the banks facilitated by ISIS of that special nation, the chosen one, that sees all the banks suddenly lose all their money, and it's all shock and horror, and they did all they can, and now what to do, and the records have been wiped, and who knows what your balance was, etc., etc. Get your money out the banking system to a working level, not entirely, but to a working level. Get a disproportionate amount of cash. Bullets, cash, ciggies and booze, says one man. I'm off the booze and the ciggies. I've never really been on some of those things. Cash, I'll go with the cash. I think the bullets and the socialware and water, clean water and power, grid power. The West Indies are back, says somebody. It sounds like in cricket they are, and it sounds maybe as an option. Buy silver. Silver will dip, but then it's going to pump. I'll come to Cape Town. Can you start a community? We've got already a little bit of a group of people that are here. It's very beautiful. Show you around there. And this is one of the less popular beaches, Fishhook. I'm actually doing some paperwork down here. You have mountain, bay, and sea, and you have warm sea and super cold sea. And I do my submersion there, and it's crystal clear most days. I had a sunfish, a huge sunfish. I can't show you my hands because we're on vertical mode, but from my head down to crotch level, let's just say circle-sized sunfish, swimming near me, and he had this floppy flipper that he kept popping out of the water. When I first saw it, I crapped myself. I thought the first thing you think is shark, then I thought it was a kind of a seal. Got up close, and there's this big old eye and this round fish. It was quite weird. So grid is unstable, and anyone of any means entirely has solar. And the solar is very stable. The solar is 100%, and the sun shines here, much like Australia. The sun shines. I mean, South Africa is a 250-day going on sometimes on 300-day sunshine, even in winter. Cape has a bit of a wet winter, so you want to have batteries. You want to have about 4 days, I would say, of batteries, so you can gap fill, grid, everything. You just over provide. In fact, self-reliance is your gift. The government here actually just encourage you to get self-reliant, and that's brilliant. And then you just stop paying money for energy, and you put out a capital outlay and pay it off if you can't pay it up. So you want to get water in right here in Cork Bay. There are pipes where people collect free water that is run out of the mountain on the water table, because the cloud gets pushed up the mountain. There's so much moisture, and there's dams and water. They did have a water crisis 5 years ago, but that pipe still ran because the water table is so high. So you can be independent water and power here without having to spend an immense amount. And you can clean it, distill it, do whatever you should with it. So thank you, Francis. Love your wisdom. Grateful that you share it. God bless. So that's Barbie Taylor. Thank you, Barbie, for your kind words. It's really sweet. Ladies are awesome when they show up here. It's so nice to see a few of you. We've got Vicky as well, who's engaging and chatting. Good luck to all of us. But the key thing is, remember the responses they want you to have. The stimulus is designed to provoke emotional response. So the more they bring their shit, the happier I get about life. The more I wake up every morning. You don't know how many more mornings you're going to see. I want to see every flipping morning. Get up early, go to bed early. I don't watch their Netflix. I don't watch their shit entertainment on some crappy top box. I watch much less of their sports ball distraction for men. I'm not interested. And I go to sleep with the sun, and I get up with the sun, and I swim in seawater twice usually, but at least once every morning. And I love my life, and I get sunshine every day. I'm getting it on my legs sitting here. 15 minutes of sunshine. I'm supplementing. I'm testing my blood. News break. I have graphene in my blood. We all do. And no, I didn't, on that question you're about to ask next. So from wherever I've been, in all the nations I've been, shedding on planes, who knows? But it's not chronic, it's not a high amount, but I am taking protocols to remove. Focus on super health. I am looking potentially to build a business of super health. I'm talking about oxygen, exercise in the morning, hyperbaric compression chambers with super high levels of oxygen to clean blood, to reoxidize, to heart function, lung function, brain function. Bikram yoga. I go cold water submersion, Bikram yoga, back in the cold water straight afterwards. Full 8 hours sleep early. Get into super health, guys. This is a triggering event where you're about to do an obstacle course. You don't even know it. Most people don't even know they're about to have to do an obstacle course, a bit like CV19. Knowing you're going to do it means you're much more ready for a marathon race that no one else is prepared for. We're already running, we're getting fit, we've got running shoes, we've got a vest. The other people are getting fat, they're getting ugly and stupid, and then a gun's going to be fired and they're going to be told they're in the middle of a marathon race. Who do you think's surviving, you or them? The normies that think we're all nutballs with tinfoil hats. This financial event that is occurring right now on one of the 5 that we watch is the beginning of the other 4 following. It's not a fake break and coming out. It's got a technical structure for hire. So I'm here to tell you, we have transitioned, listen to that use of that word, transitioned from the inverted state, which says we're going to have some trouble at some point in the future, to the trouble point is now beginning its triggering phase, the shorter term. We have gone from medium term to shorter term. So that is absolutely on the cards. And I'm here to tell you, get prepared. And I'm not asking you for anything for me. Get prepared. I want you all to win. I want you all to survive. Get prepared. I want your health and wealth to survive. Because if you have your health and your wealth and your family around, which means you need to talk to the people you can still hold some influence. Don't waste time on complete spastics, fantastics that are numb-brains. Let other people, it's like having an argument with a drunk. They're in a diminished capacity. They unfortunately will be part of the collateral damage. In some senses, what the control structures are doing is they're going to be clearing out absolute dead wood. Make sure you're not part of it. And this is getting a tiny bit reset here, but this could be the final. It is so big, it's so overarched, it's so coordinated, it's so globalized. You've never had the depression, recession in that level. And you saw the one previously that was the drill for what this one is going to be. So let me just say that again. In my opinion, March 2020 was the coordinated drill of putting in enforcement on you at a localized level globally. So the NWO had power at the top, but they didn't have grassroots power. That was their drill for enforcement. That was where they got cops to whip grannies sitting on park benches because special conditions. Because she might spread, something. Anyway, so that was the drill for getting people ready. And they're putting in new legalese in May, or March is May, the World Health Organization. So you've got to watch that as a potential timing trigger that could be rushed approved because event is happening in March. We really need to get this through. We've got to sign this off, So it could be before that or in and around that. Yeah. Karens were the main enforcers. Yeah, well, sometimes I think Karens is a smear on our female population. There's normies of all genders and all racial types and all ethnicities and all religions, actually. And I don't want our womankind to be particularly smeared any more than anybody else. But there is a tendency for people to cuddle up to their captors. And it is more prevalent in that gender. But that said, there's nothing good with these captors. There's nothing good. You have to be non-compliant and continue to live your beautiful life. If you haven't had reset plans, you need to talk to us and start thinking about that. I've got people here who are helping me getting a whole myriad of things through to get firearm licenses, to get all sorts of things, sport, tapped in, living places, social communities. We're getting so networked in so many different countries, Panama, Cyprus, right here in SA. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to be dictated to by these guys. I'm going to live a better life, and I'm not going to allow anyone, any normies, Karens or what's the male equivalent? We need a name. In fact, we don't need a name. We want to stop using those names. I think the left probably created that. Male, female, whatever gender or whatever religion. I'm not going to have them stop me. Good luck. You're going to have a cop at 4 a.m. to stop me from swimming, standing and watching that sun up in summer. And you're going to have him there at 6. And I've got more coastline to pop up and swim in. And I'm not afraid of sharks. I know where they are. I know where they aren't. I'm going to get my seawater time. I'm going to get my sun water. I'm going to have my goggles off, and I'm going to blue light in the morning, and I'm going to red light at night. And I ain't talking about that Roxanne red light. I'm talking about circadian rhythms. I'm going to do health. I'm eating like a king here for half the price. Healthy, anti-inflammatory, everything. And this is what you need, guys. This is what you need. Like a seal, they won't catch us. Exactly, Murray. Exactly. And that's punish them by your best existence. They hate it. Mock them and punish them by your absolute best existence, your best life. Undertake to get in your best physical condition, because you can't brute force from the brain. You need good biology to be mentally strong. Many people see the brain as the apex of that pyramid, and you just force it through the mind. Guess what? There's some things you can't force if your biology is bad. Get your biology back. It comes back up. Think of the Kundalini and going up and down the elevator that is your 33 vertebrae, right from your coccyx right into the base of your head. This is actuality and actualization in every level. And age is a number. Be the fittest 60-year-old. Be the fittest 40-year-old. Be the fittest 20-year-old. Be the fittest 10-year-old. Be the fittest 80-year-old that you can be. And punish them by living your best life. Punish them by not taking any of their poisons. Punish them by only putting good things in your body. The inversion is the beginning of those days that are coming, guys. The inversion is the beginning of those days that are coming. And the next event is going to be declared. And you're all sitting waiting for the label. I don't care what the label is. You know it's fraud. You know it's concocted. You know it's a manufactured event. Is it a war? Is it a hack? Is it both? Is it a climate lockdown? We've discussed them all at various stages, and it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is, it's the Bolshevik communists coming for you. It's the Red Star coming for you. So I'm going to pretend I'm one of them and fly under the radar. That's what's happening. And you've got to make sure you roll back this communism, this totalitarianism. You've got to be defiant, but you've got to be defiant in a clever way. Don't stand in front of tanks. Don't be a sacrificial martyr. I want you alive. I want you living. But just make it hard for them. Frustrate them. Let it be that they mess around. They have to enforce, because if they don't have a cop on every beach, on every rock, you're going to be swimming. And that's my goal. And that's where we're ending up. And that's what our community's goal is. Reset readiness. And make sure they don't take your currency, money, gold money, the rest currency, but you need some currency. Make sure they don't take it. You could also have an outbreak of crypto hacks and tethered dramas. So that could cause, if they have global hack, where's all that money held? You've got to realize this could be all down. So if you have a token, you might want to, if you decide to token out on some of these things, you might need it in a cold wallet and not too much tether, but expect it to drop. I don't know, it's risky. You've got to have thought that through. You've got to game theory that through. I don't know quite what I'll do there. I don't have every answer, but I think if, banks are holding their money, don't forget, they all pivoted at the wrong moment to T-bills as collateral for their USDTs and their USDCs. Start a career in aircraft. Funny enough, private pilot's licenses are super cheap here, and there's plenty places to learn in South Africa, and there's short haul flying across the country all over the place. It's great. A, for learning, B, for passing. It's very high standard. And C, there's farmers with them that have huge farms that flip from one end to the other. And of course in Australia it can't be bad there. The Qantas stands for those that don't know, the QU, Queensland Northern Territories Air Service. It literally was farmers and small planes that were flipping around the country, and then it grew into the airline. How would you prepare a community, Francis? Do you have one already? We have collections of people in various geographies. My personal encouragement is that you have multiple. The key thing is optionality. If you're in Australia, have Bali. It's nearby. You could get there on boat and a plane. You've holidayed there probably. You feel more familiar. I can't say I do. I've been to Phuket and Thailand and all of that, and I expect it similar, but I haven't been to Bali. There's jungle. There's places you can get lost. There's places where enforcement will be hard. The role is, where is there that you can live, that any form of bullshit rule that requires enforcement is going to be impossible to inflict on you. I've made my choices on that. But if I was in Aussie, it would probably be, Bali, Indonesia. You want to lose the Western tag, and you want to go with the quiet rest of the world. The rest of the world is not going to get as badly hit as, what's this? The Deagle stats. I refer you back. This is a Bolshevik event like in Russia, but only for the West. They had theirs, and it could get brutal because they're savages and barbarians. 200 ounces of gold, a good amount to survive. I think you're a lot better than the person without 200 ounces of gold. I will take payment out of your ounces of gold for services that I have, water, anything I have. Definitely, I will receive it willingly. Whether retail businesses are smart enough to do that, I don't know. But I certainly will, and I think get local. Be with other guys that are committing to accept silver and gold for cross change of hens, wild game. We live in a country here where there's wild game shot, uninjected. This stuff is roamed. You're shooting a wild animal. No human has actually fed it at all. Do you know how good that meat is? It's brilliant. And the guys shoot so much because they love the sport. They have too much of it. I've got guys with 6 massive freezers in outhouses of frozen prime steaks from a kudu, from an impala, from a this. And they go on farms where there's tons of it. This is the kind of thing I want in reset. How hard is it? They want a wedge between you and the food supply chain. They want you in the supermarket chain that they control, which is the process buys in the processed foods, tells you this is healthy, healthy label, healthy this, healthy everything. You want direct to source. Get local, get direct to source, get self-reliant. The formula doesn't really change. I end up saying the same things. Okay, guys, it's been a lengthy stream. It's 50 minutes. I've got another appointment to make, so I'm going to head off. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the likes and shares. Key event happened. The beginning of the reversion back positive on the yield curve inversion is taking place now. This is you've changed phase into a higher state of alert for the eventual demand destroying event. That is the grounds of this YouTube. Everything else is things we've discussed on Reset and on this channel before. Thank you so much. Like and share. Other people need to hear this message. It's 100% indicator, and it's on the strong reversion back up through the naught and onwards. There are others that will turn too. So it's the first. Okay, catch you later, guys. Thanks for watching.